Allrounder V4 kit comes with 6 Coro parts. The main fuselage is a single piece part. This is the doubler. These are the triplers. One tripler has an alignment hole, the vertical stabilizer, the horizontal stabilizer, and the MDF parts, which has the control horns and the doublers, and the paper laminated board, which has the formers and the landing gear plate. We start the build by removing the excess Coro from the sheets and cutting out and cleaning out all the notches where the formers will fit in. Use the knife to remove the excess Coro and cut out and remove the pieces between the sides. We'll do the same for the doubler. We'll clear out the slots where the MDF landing gear reinforcement plate will be glued on, the notches and the wing holding rod holes. Next we are going to reinforce the hinge line where the fuselage will be folded. So we flip the fuselage sheet and apply some tape on the fold lines. So there's one fold line at the back of the fuselage on the top. Then there are two fold lines at the bottom of the main fuselage center and one at the battery bay. After you apply the tape, use the knife to clear out any tape over the notches. Next we are going to clean the flutes where the fuselage will be bent over. So the laser engraves and there are certain plastic pieces which remain in the flute. These need to be cleaned out so that the bend can be made. Use the knife to carefully cut out those pieces and then you will fold the fuselage over, fold the hinge line over. Remove those small pieces of plastic. This will allow the fuselage to be bent over cleanly. So we'll do it for all the hinge lines. Next we are going to glue the doubler to the fuselage. Use the alignment hole and the notches to align the doubler. So we are going to glue only the bottom part first and not the sides at this point. Use CA glue to glue just the bottom of the doubler. The sides will not be glued at this point. Be sure to carefully align the notches and the alignment hole to ensure the doubler is properly aligned. The doubler sides will be glued on later after we fold the fuse sides. So now we are going to fold. This is going to be a B fold, so the side will be folded besides the bottom. We'll use some hot glue over the fold line. And then fold the fuselage side over and make sure that the side is perpendicular to the base. So we just used a tape roll to ensure it's 90 degrees to the base. Once this dries up, we'll do the same for the other side. So once this dries up, we are going to glue the doubler sides to the main fuse side, and we shall use some CA glue for this. Double check all the alignment points. And do the same for the other side. Next we are going to glue the triplers. So there's one tripler with a hole. This will be glued at the middle of the fuselage. So align the hole with the hole on the fuselage bottom and between the notches, and glue it in place with some CA. The second tripler will be installed in front of the notch. Again, double check that it's between the alignment points, the notches, and then glue it with some CA. Next we are going to glue the fuse rear bottom side. So now this is tapered, so be careful when you glue this. So we'll put a bead of hot glue on the sides and then bend the fuse sides over this base and allow the glue to dry up. Try to keep this symmetrical so that the left and the right sides both bend equally and that the notches are aligned. So this will also be a B fold, so the fuse sides will go all the way to the bottom. clear out the holes. So we'll glue the MDF strips to the side of the fuselage. The holes need to be aligned towards the bottom. That is where the skewers will be inserted. Use a bead of hot glue to glue the MDF landing gear doublers to the side within the notch. So now we will install the two formers first, the former B and the former C. Because this is the square part of the fuselage, it's easiest to start from here. So press the notches a bit so that they go inside the fuselage sides. Make sure the fuse sides are perpendicular to the base and everything is aligned. The fuse top will be also folded. Use a very thin bead of hot glue to glue the two formers in place. The formers need to be aligned so that the marking faces the front of the fuselage towards the nose. Next we'll install the former D and E at the back. Note that the fuselage is tapered towards the back and also towards the front. So make sure you press both the sides as symmetrically as possible. So test fit before you apply the glue. And then use some hot glue to glue the formers in place. We'll also install the former A at the front. Now this former has a slight angle. There's a slight right thrust and a down thrust on it. So carefully be careful on the angle of this. So there's slight right thrust and a down thrust. You can also glue the fuse bottom to the former and to the sides. A great way to use hot glue is to add some hot glue and then wipe the excess off. So now we have all the formers installed. The next step is to glue the fuse tops. We'll start by gluing the center part. Now this will be a B fold again, so the top will go besides the fuse side. So apply the glue on all the tops where the fuse top will contact, and then put the fuse on its side and press the top towards the table, so this will make a nice B fold. Use something to ensure that this is perpendicular to the base. Wipe off any excess glue and let the hot glue dry. We'll glue the windshield. This is easy. We'll do the same for the front part. We'll just add the hot glue. To the former A and to the fuse sides. And put the fuse on its side. Press towards the table and glue this. Wipe off any excess hot glue. Now we'll repeat the same for the fuse backside. It's good to test fit first before you actually apply the glue. As before, we'll do a B fold. So we'll flip the fuse on its side and press the top towards the table. Once the glue dries up, we are going to use the knife to cut off the excess from the top. this will make the fuse top flush with the fuse side. We'll cut out the opening for the battery hatch. And glue the piece of Velcro here where the battery will be later installed. Now we are going to install the MDF motor mount. So use some clear out the holes on it where the screws will be put on. And then use a bead of hot glue to glue this to the former A. Now we are going to install the wing holding rods. These are barbecue skewers. Use the pointed edge and a twisting motion to insert the skewer into the holes and cut off the excess. So you retain the sharpened edge and use that to again thread that into the hole. Cut off the excess again, and then now we'll install the barbecue skewers at the bottom for the landing gear. So use the twisting motion to thread the barbecue skewer in place. So once this is installed, we are going to head towards doing the vertical and the horizontal stabilizer. Clear out the notches. You can reinforce the hinge with the tape if you want, and then clean out the hinge line as before. Next we'll trial fit the horizontal stabilizer into the slot at the back of the fuselage. Align so that the hole holes are aligned, and also test fit the vertical stabilizer. The vertical stabilizer should be perpendicular to the horizontal stabilizer. Test fit all the notches and ensure everything is fitting in. Then you will glue the horizontal stabilizer to the fuselage. Use a bead of hot glue on the sides and then wipe off with a, while the glue is wet, wipe it off with a piece of foam board. The alignment of the stabilizer is important, so make sure it's symmetrical and properly aligned. Once this is done, we'll glue the vertical stabilizer in place. Apply the glue to all points where it's going to contact the fuselage. Wipe off the excess glue. And check that it is perpendicular to the fuselage. Next, we are going to glue the control horns. The control horns have a backing plate. This wooden piece is a skid reinforcer, so you can glue it to the piece of the rudder or the vertical stabilizer. Just a few drops of CA. Glue the control horns now with a few drops of CA. Now it's time to install the servos. So before you install the servos, you need to center the servos. So in this case, we already got these servos which are centered. Thread the servo wire through the former and use some hot glue to glue the servos in their slots. Next, we'll install the push rods. So there are two push rods. The shorter push rod will be installed on the elevator. Use the linkage connector to install the push rods onto the servos. Do the same for the rudder servo. Next we are going to install the motor and the ESC. So tighten the motor mount to the firewall. So in this case we are going to install the ESC outside the fuselage so that there's some good airflow over it and the ESC runs cool. So we have used a servo extension to route the servo to the ESC wire to the back where the receiver will be installed. Bend 45 degrees from center. Flat है. Measure 1.5 inch on both sides. And bend 90 degrees up. Measure 1.5 inch. Measure 1.5 inch from end. Same height. रख दो बस।